Unplugged in, the giants of Earth running for their lives, illegally hunted for their ivory tusks.
We collectively, as humans, should be concerned and should be saddened by the fact that these majestic creatures are being killed for their ivory.
Travel deep into the forests of Gabon with VOA Pentagon correspondent Carla Babb, documenting the work of U.S. Special Forces to help protect the elephants.
Oh, it's very clear when you're around them that they're extremely emotional and very, very sensitive. They mourn their dead. We have footage of them.
Plus, actress Kristin Davis on her work raising awareness of poaching for ivory. Unplugged in, protecting the elephants. Hello and welcome to Plugged In. I'm Greta Van Susteren, reporting from Washington, D.C. Wildlife protectors say more than 20,000 African elephants are killed by poachers every year. In the Zambezi Valley of Zimbabwe, the elephant population at the UNESCO World Heritage Site shrunk from 20,000 to 12,000 in the last 20 years. Gabon is home to more forest elephants than anywhere else in the world. VOA Pentagon correspondent Carla Babb embedded with a group of U.S. Special Forces that went deep in the forest to train Gabonese anti-poaching soldiers working to protect the remaining elephant population. Here's part one of her documentary.
Overwhelming power, overpowered by greedy men, willing to kill for their ivory.
We've been shot at.
We are now in war.
What's at stake is the future of Gabon.
If we don't beat the poachers, Gabon will go the way of CAR. We will lose our country.
In this tiny Central African nation, park rangers called eco-guards man the front lines. And the U.S. military has answered their call for help.
We not only help them preserve the wildlife, but at the same time we're disrupting criminal organizations and we're helping them develop a better future.
There's a hill here maybe, and then this is coming up. So what does that mean for the objective?
VOA is the first news media outlet to embed with the U.S. military on a counter-poaching mission. We followed a small Army team to see how American training and resources are strengthening the Rangers.
In some of the parks, they already are a true paramilitary force. They're having gun battles about once a month.
This is the fight for Gabon's forest.
Pull the leaf out there. It's like asparagus. I eat everything that gorillas eat.
What's it taste like?
This tastes like it's like cucumber, I guess.
For biologist Lee White, the nation's Minister of Forest, Gabon is a paradise.
When you see elephants walking out onto the beach in Luango and then you see a humpback whale breaching in the background, then you think to yourself, is this real?
Yeah.
But that's Gabon. That's what Gabon is like.
Gabon is home to more forest elephants than anywhere else in the world. But over the past couple of decades, they've been killed by poachers by the tens of thousands.
Tragically, we've lost about 70% of the forest elephants of Central Africa in the last 15 years. But between Gabon and northern Congo, we're the only places that are really hanging on.
Gabon's vast rainforest cover almost the entire country, making it a perfect home for the African forest elephant. Unlike their cousins that thrive in the savannas of eastern and southern Africa, forest elephants of West and Central Africa are smaller, with straight tusks rather than curved ones to better maneuver in dense trees and underbrush. Female forest elephants do not start breeding until they are more than 20 years old, leading wildlife experts to estimate that it takes more than 50 years for the species to double their population. According to the World Wildlife Fund, poachers kill at least 20,000 African elephants each year for their tusk, despite a ban on international ivory trade. Forest elephants have been hit the worst. The World Wildlife Fund's biomonitoring report indicates there are now less than 10,000 forest elephants in Central Africa. DRC, CAR, and Cameroon have all lost more than 90% of their forest elephant populations since 2011. Gabon and Congo now hold Africa's largest forest elephant populations. Gabon's elephant population is down about a third, a blow that's been lessened due to increased resources for conservation.
I had about 100 staff. I had no cars. So managing 13 national parks in a country the size of the UK with no cars is quite a struggle. It's a hitchhike to get to the parks. And we went from a budget of about $500,000 a year to $25 million.
Since 2007, Gabon's national parks have grown from about 100 eco-guards on the payroll to more than 850.
Parce que pour faire un travail comme celui-là, ça demande beaucoup des efforts physiques, ça demande beaucoup de sacrifices et il faut beaucoup de motivation. Nous avons le devoir aussi de pouvoir préserver cet écosystème, cette nature, cette biodiversité pour les générations futures comme ceux, nos prédécesseurs, donc nos anciens parents.
VOA was the first media organization to embed with U.S. Special Forces countering elephant poaching. I spoke to Carla Babb about her experience and the impact of American resources on the effort. Carla, I know all your work for VOA at the Pentagon, but now this mini-doc on elephants. Why?
Well, I was actually speaking with some military officers back in December of 2016, way back then. And we were talking about all the activities that the U.S. military does in Africa. And I said, now, I bet you guys do some really cool things. A long conversation, we decided we decided that counter poaching was something that nobody was talking about, and the U.S. military is actually helping out with. They've been helping out since 2009. 2, 3, 4, 5-person teams that go out there to help with the counter poaching activities. But it's been going on. It's been in Tanzania, Uganda, Botswana, Chad, Malawi, and obviously Gabon.
So why is the U.S. military involved?
When you think of the U.S. military, you think of fighting extremist groups and training military teams on how, rule of law and how to shoot their weapons. But this is something that various African nations have asked for. And so they understand that the U.S. is one of the largest international funders to help with wildlife preservation there. And they know that they need to be more professional because as one of the people that I was speaking with says, you can't just go up to a poacher and say, "Excuse me, give me your gun." You have to be prepared to fight them, and you can't fight them unless you have a plan to capture them, a plan to push them out of the parks.
Is there a particular type of elephant that was in this area that you were protecting?
Yes, so Africa actually has 2 different types of elephants, and people outside of Africa don't always know this, but there's the savanna elephant that most people are used to seeing. Those are the massive elephants that are in the savannas. That's why they're named the savanna elephants. And then there are the smaller forest elephants. And they have, straighter tusks so they can maneuver around the brush. They're smaller so they can maneuver in the jungles and the forest. And those are the elephants that they're trying to save in Gabon, in Congo.
What happens if you get caught killing an elephant and trying to take its tusk?
So that's something that's still being discussed. They're trying to put stricter laws on the books. For a long time, it was just you were put in prison for a few months and then you were released. They're trying to make the laws a lot stricter. And Lee White, who was the minister that I was speaking to, said that that was being very effective because they're trying to get across that this is necessary for Gabon to survive.
Did the elephants ignore you, or were they threatened by you, or just spying on you? What was your interaction with these elephants?
I had this one encounter with a mother and a baby, and that was the one time where the park ranger said, "There's a baby. We're far enough away to where she shouldn't worry. but you don't want to start charging or walking quickly or making fast movements towards them. That was the only time where I felt that there was going to be any sort of conflict. And then, of course, when we were out too late at night and one came right in front of our vehicle.
Is there a way to sort of describe the poaching in terms of, is it, how prevalent is it? Is it going down, going up? How do you describe it right now?
They say the poaching is decreasing. The problem is these elephants take a really long time to reproduce and to double their population. Case in point, you look at the surrounding countries and they've lost 90% of their elephant populations. They waited till it was too late. They didn't put in the resources. And now the elephants have moved into Gabon and the Congo. And Gabon has been very proactive on this. And you have to hand it to the Ministry of Forest for being so proactive on this and saying, we don't want this to happen in our country.
Did you shoot this yourself or did you bring a crew?
It was just a two-person team. It was myself and my videographer, Ricky. She was fantastic. We were early risers and going to bed very late every single day, but it was a really neat experience. And so she would film the majority of the stuff, and then I filmed a little bit on my iPhone so we could get a couple of different angles. We had another VOA Africa reporter that had been in Gabon the year prior, and I used some of her footage. She was in another one of the parks, the Nkebe National Parks, so we were able to work together to share footage that way.
Well, it's a fantastic documentary. And one other thing is the elephant. What a magnificent animal, isn't it?
I had seen elephants before in Sri Lanka, but I had never seen them out in their natural habitat, just walking around. And that was fascinating to me, and I'll never forget that. And it's really motivated me. Once you see the elephants and see how majestic they are, you don't want them to disappear. It's amazing how it came together in the midst of a global pandemic, in the midst of everything that has been happening this year in 2020. And I'm really proud of the team that we've had.
Carla, thank you very much. It's a great documentary.
Thank you.
Challenges over resources, along with violence and illegal gold miners, have threatened even the director of the heritage site. And the park's open borders with Congo and Cameroon complicates the effort to protect the elephants. Here's part 2 of Carla Babb's documentary.
Celui-là. Ah, il n'est pas bébé. Si j'entends, il y a les éléphants devant, il y a les gorilles, il y a un python ici, je n'ai aucun problème. Mais si j'entends qu'il y a les voix des humains à 15 km, où je vois des coupes de machettes fraîches, très loin, là, je suis réellement en danger.
Yeah, the level of violence has been rising the last 5 years or so. Until about 5 years ago, we'd never had anybody shot at. Now it's commonplace. We had some illegal gold miners who were also doing poaching, tried to kill our technical director, Hubert Elarikoga, a couple of months ago. He went into a camp and they immediately opened fire on him.
It's a war. I am talking about a band of 20 to 50 people in the forest with AK-47, 4.58 rifle, 3.75 rifle. So it's complicated in forest.
Nkebe National Park is considered the most dangerous post for eco-guards. Bordered by Congo to the east and Cameroon to the north, poachers flood the park and escape capture by darting across the river to another country. Narcisse Baba Obame is the patrol chief there.
Avant de partir en patrouille, on a toujours peur parce que, comme je vous dis au parc de Nkebe, quand vous rentrez, vous ne savez pas si vous allez sortir. Chez nous là-bas à Nkebe, vous pouvez vous croiser directement avec les braconniers. C'est pas, ça veut dire on a un indice, on dit il y a des braconniers à tel endroit et puis arriver. Vous pouvez marcher, vous êtes sur une piste et vous croisez le braconnier et directement le feu est rentré. Ça arrive. Donc, pour vous dire, franchement, je suis un être humain. Quand je rentre en mission, je suis toujours stressé. Mais comme c'est mon boulot et j'aime mon boulot, je suis obligé de bien le faire.
Today, even some of the safest parks are under attack.
The Cameroonian poachers are now at the north of Lopé, so at 40 kilometers from here, and at the north of Ivindo National Parks. They have crossed the Nkebe. They are around Minzik, Mindik is at less than 100 kilometers from here. So this is why all the elephants are going to the coast, because they are afraid by these poachers.
As a new day in Lope begins, this cadence brings hope. Because these eco-guards are training to be the leaders of the counter-poaching fight. And they're not alone.
Could somebody brief your medical plan?
A group of U.S. soldiers are here to increase their chances of survival.
So generally the route we're going to take to do this patrol is leaving the Saydam, head to the main road, and then head south across this bridge.
Today, the Americans have created an exercise to hunt down and capture a group of men posing as poachers inside the park.
I'm ready.
Army Captain Kevin Chapla leads the team.
But if an injury does happen in real life, all the training stops. So I would just advise you guys to watch where you're stepping. We've seen like giant snakes down there. So if you get bit by something, just bring it to our attention and we'll proceed accordingly. So right now our training patrol they're about 200 meters from the objective, the suspected camp of about 4 poachers. From here, they're probably going to send out a recon element, see what they can see, come back, develop a plan, and then raid the suspected poaching camp.
U.S.-led counter-poaching training operations like this one began in Tanzania in 2009, officials say, and U.S. military efforts started in Gabon in 2018.
Our core mission really is to build the capability of our African partners through training. So anything that is criminal in nature has the capability to have linkages with violent extremist organizations and impact the ability of the government to get the critical programs and development to the people wherever they may be at.
Months of training has improved techniques to capture poachers and preserve evidence.
J'enlève les chaussures pour essayer de vérifier s'il n'y a pas de papiers cachés ou des informations qui peuvent nous mener à bien notre mission.
And first aid training is in high demand as poachers push deeper into Gabonese land.
Conservationists in Zimbabwe say it has been 12 months since an elephant was killed. They say a drop in tourism because of pandemic travel restrictions has not resulted in an increase of poaching there. Actress Kristin Davis is dedicated to inspiring change and raising awareness to stop illegal poaching. I spoke to Kristin about her work with a wildlife trust in Kenya. Okay, Kristin, who is Chaimu?
Chaimu is actually an elephant that my friends and I found who had been orphaned in Kenya. And we were with an ecological group, a conservation group, and an elder, a Maasai elder, came out and said, "Oh, a baby elephant is lost." And everyone knows that they can't survive alone. And we spent a few days searching for this baby elephant who was terrified. This is in 2009. And finally, we found her, and we called the Sheltered Wildlife Trust because everyone in Kenya knows that they know how to raise baby orphaned elephants and re-release them back into the wild, which of course is so important. And luckily, she ended up there. We got her there, and she now lives back in the wild in Kenya in a national park.
Where was Chaimu's mother? What happened to her?
She was probably killed. We never found her body. It was right near the border with Tanzania. And in 2009 is when the elephant poaching crisis rose again. We had dealt with it in the 70s and 80s, and then because of the complicated thing with CITES, the International Board of Wildlife Trade, there was another kind of uptick where people realized they could make money on the illegal market by selling tusks. So there was a really huge crisis, and again, elephants were almost completely extinct at one point. So we are on the upswing from that.
Is she still at the Wildlife Trust? Is she still there?
She's in the wild now. They get to decide. The elephants decide themselves when they're ready to go live back in the wild. It's kind of a process. So she moved from the nursery to kind of the intermediate rehabilitation center, which is out in the huge national park called Tsavo. And then eventually she's a very plucky girl, my Chaimu, very, very headstrong. And she and her friend Kilaguni, whose tail had been bitten off when he was alone by hyenas, They're best buddies, and they went out into the wild together, but they come back and they visit their human family often, especially during the dry season, because they know they can get water from the trust. And the trust also has a number of anti-poaching teams that monitor the park to try to keep them safe once they're living in the wild.
One of the things I read is that scientists are unsure, but they think that the elephant may weep, that an elephant grieves, an elephant cries.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Oh, it's very clear when you're around them that they're extremely emotional and very, very sensitive. They mourn their dead. We have footage of them. If the bones of a loved one are there, they stand for days and touch the bones, and you can see they have tear ducts, and sometimes it means they're excited. It can mean a lot of different things to see the kind of, it looks like they're crying, but they do that also if they're happy, so you can't always know. But if they're touching the bones of their loved ones and feeling those feelings, you can pretty much tell that they're mourning. I mean, just being around them, even, you can feel a lot of their feelings. They communicate in a vibration that we can't hear, but we can feel. So sometimes when you're around them, you just go into this kind of meditative state that you're feeling all of their communications. It's very magical.
They're the most magnificent, beautiful animals. And so now I want to turn to the question that's very upsetting to me: poaching. What's the story with the poaching now in Kenya and in Africa with these elephants? Has it pretty much been stopped, or is it raging again?
So unfortunately, poaching is still happening in an illegal way, mostly. Though there has been a lot of success, like for instance, Kenya, our poaching in Kenya, I think it's down, I want to say 40 or 50%. And that's because of a private-public partnership. And America has actually been very helpful in terms of, we sent people from our wildlife and game and our State Department to the ports in Kenya to help educate them about being able to track and find these illegal shipments that were happening. So because of the private-public partnership, it's really come down a lot. But I don't know that the government could have afforded to basically wage a war, which is what it is like, by themselves. So it takes the conservation groups, which is, of course, funded by people like us, hopefully when we can. And then there's countries like the Congo, where because of the unrest, they really are just on the front lines. I mean, I would say every other month rangers are killed. It's tragic. These people are giving their lives to protect these animals, the gorillas, elephants, all of the wild animals, and they're being killed. So it's not ended. It's different in each country depending on the government and what they're able to do and the unrest, that may crop up. So unfortunately, it's not over everywhere.
So many of us, love elephants, but we actually owe a lot of gratitude to the Sheldrick Wildlife Conservation Trust. How did they come about?
Well, Daphne Sheldrick, who is in heaven now with her elephant friends, I'm sure, really pioneered raising baby elephants who had been orphaned and re-releasing them into the wild. She had no degree. She just loved the elephants. Her husband, the late David Sheldrick, was the warden of Tsavo, this huge national park. So the trust has been in existence over 40 years. We have re-released over, I think it's 260 elephants into the wild. They're now having wild-born babies. So they're mating with the wild elephants, having babies. They always bring the babies back to show to the keepers, which is like the most magnificent event. And the keepers are always so excited, like it's their grandchildren, It's very beautiful and so special to be a part of.
Well, Kristin, thank you very much for talking to me and actually for taking care of the elephants, or helping out and putting a spotlight on this. I appreciate it.
And thank you, Greta. Thank you so much for your giving us a platform, and your love for elephants means so much too.
Teaching the future trainers is the goal of the U.S. mission in Gabon, creating professionalism within the ranks to fight the organized network of poachers and terrorists that scar the region. Back now to Carla to show us more about this mission.
Here at Lope National Park, it takes about 4 hours to drive to the nearest hospital. It takes even longer from some of the other parks. So for these eco guards, this medical training could be the difference between life and death. Army Specialist Omar Soto is the team's medic.
Out of the past 15 months, I think I've been here 11. My goal was to basically teach them how to identify injuries that are basically could potentially take your life the quickest. Give them the tools to basically, or the knowledge to address the injuries accordingly.
Unlike previous counter-poaching training from other nations, Chapla says the U.S. mission with Gabon's National Park Agency, known as the ANPN, is designed to train future trainers. This small group will return to parks across Gabon, and their immediate job will be teaching their colleagues everything they've learned from the American team.
It's a proof of concept for them being able to instruct their own. And in fact, it's the first training sustainment capability that the ANPN has ever had, so it's pretty big.
Je crois qu'il y a un grand monsieur de ce monde qui a dit qu'il est mieux d'apprendre à quelqu'un à pêcher que de lui donner du poisson. Nous aurons toujours besoin de la coopération, mais nous pensons que pour ça, il est bon que nous soyons plus ou moins autonomes.
These eco guards are highly motivated individuals, and teaching them not only is it fun, but it's easy. They're very willing to learn and willing to ask questions. And as an instructor, I don't think it gets any better than that.
C'est une formation très riche parce que en rentrant ici, on avait des attitudes un peu différentes d'aujourd'hui. On est devenu un peu plus professionnel.
And they need to be professional to have a fighting chance against the organized crime networks and terror groups they're facing.
We can trace the poachers who are killing those elephants back to Boko Haram.
The group has terrorized Nigeria and parts of West Africa, raiding villages, kidnapping hundreds of schoolgirls, and killing thousands of people as its leaders seek to create an Islamic caliphate.
As I said to the US Embassy a few months ago, I say, boss, we have two solutions. We work together or we work on each side. But at the end, the attentat will be in your country, not in mine. But I agree, they will come in my country to take ivory or money and to prepare this attentat. So we really have to work together.
One thing not included in this mission, weapons training, something the Rangers say they desperately want. That's because, until last year, the government didn't allow eco-guards to carry weapons. And most still have to rely on military gendarmes to patrol with them for their defense, role-played in the training by eco-guards carrying sticks.
It's got to the point where, not in all parks, but in some parks, we have to arm the eco-guards as well as the gendarmes. And I have initiated that. The President supports it, and we are in the process of buying the guns.
Ça, c'est ce qu'on a retrouvé sur les braconniers, sur celui-là. Je ne sais pas si c'est le chef des braconniers ou pas, mais il a beaucoup de munitions.
Now you can't say to a poacher, oh, sorry guys, stay quiet and give me your gun. Three months ago, we were not allowed to carry weapons. Now we have weapons. And the poaching is decreasing.
Officials hope these changes, along with additional international training and support, will accelerate Gabon's counter-poaching offensive. But time is running out for the elephants, and it may not be enough.
We're losing about 2 tons of ivory a month. That's about 150 elephants a month. So I'm proud that we've made the progress that we've made, but it's still catastrophic, so we still have to do more. You may win some battles, but the war keeps going.
That's all the time we have for now. Thanks to my guests, VOA Pentagon correspondent Carla Babb and Hollywood actress and wildlife conservationist Kristin Davis for joining me on this special edition of Plugged In. Stay up to date with our website, voanews.com, and follow me on Twitter @Greta. Thank you for being plugged in.